Hey insiders, it's your girl Nicole and are the insider. You already know the drill. So today I'm about to get real with y'all, get nitty gritty about how to pick a law school, why it matters which law school you go to, whatever you want to call this video. But let me just give you guys the real tea about deciding law schools and what to look for, okay? Because there's some things that, I watched like YouTube videos and I read articles, but I really didn't understand like what will help you get the job that you want, you know? So let me just lay it out for you. Look into how many journals and how many clinics the school actually has. So some schools have, and I have another video about like journal and why it's important and stuff. Maybe I'll put that in the little link below, whatever. But some schools only have a few journals. Like they might have their flagship like law review, and then they have another journal about like technology or whatever, right? But the more journals there are, the better chance you have at getting on a journal, right? Just numerically, that's how it works. And you know, I'm not going to get in it too much because I have another video about journals, but if you want to work at a firm, you need to get on a journal. So figure out how many journals your school has. Look to see how many clinics your school has. So my school has a decent amount of clinics, and there's like numerous ways that you can work with the clinics, which is super important because you're getting like real life experience working with clients and stuff like that. Like I worked for a clinic at my school this past summer, and I think I had like 7 clients or something. Like I was really putting in that work. But if my school only had 1 or 2 clinics, then that wouldn't have been possible. So see how many clinics your school has. Figure out which firms actually go to your school for on-campus interviews. So if you want to work at the #1 firm or the #2 firm, whatever, you need to make sure that they actually go to your school. Now there's other ways to get into those firms, but it's much easier through on-campus interviews. You know, that's like the get your foot in the door kind of way. Like for example, some law firms don't go to schools that are lower ranked. If they don't have offices in that city, they probably won't go to that school. There's a lot of different factors, but look into which firms go to which schools if you want to work at a firm. I also think it's important to try to figure out what the school's reputation is. So some schools are kind of known for like public interest work or sending students to big law firms, international law, whatever. So yeah, try to figure out what the school's reputation is. I think the best way to do this is to actually talk to legal professionals like in the area or that know about the school. Like when I was looking at law schools, I was kind of like reading different threads on like Reddit to see like what people thought. And that stuff is just not helpful because it's not really credible. But if you talk to legal professionals, maybe in the field that you want to go into, like if you want to do IP and you're trying to figure out which school is best for IP, like, hey, what do you think about this school? Are they known for having like good IP courses and stuff like that? So try to figure out what your school or what your potential schools are known for. Figure out if your school offers scholarship money like down the line. Like a lot of schools will give you some money when you first get in, but sometimes it's like, this is only for your first year or something. But other schools have like 50 different scholarships that students can apply to depending on like their field of interest, their grades, different stuff like that. So just look through the school's like financial aid site and see if they offered like scholarships, not just one big scholarship. Like I'm talking about like tons of scholarships, because some schools actually do that. But other schools, they just point you to outside scholarships, which are really hard to get, as we all know. So figure out what that money's looking like, basically. Location. Now I know everybody says this, but if you're a person like me who doesn't know exactly where they want to live, I think the best thing that you can do is to live in a place where there's a bunch of different law firms. So that way, if you end up working at a firm that has offices all across the country, you can transfer to one of those offices. So like right now I'm in DC, and there's like hella law firms in DC, and I can also probably work in New York because a lot of law firms will have people in like DC, New York, interchangeably, whatever. But if I work at one of those big firms, and let's just say I want to move to Houston one day, they probably have an office in Houston or LA or wherever else I want to be. If you're living in a state that only has 1 or 2 big firms, or not even big firms, if you're living in a place that doesn't have big firms like that, you're going to end up at a firm that doesn't have offices across the country, and so you won't be able to transfer within your firm across the country. See what I'm saying? See the logic there? So if you don't know where you want to live somewhere with a bunch of firms. If you do know where you want to live, then you already know. Now some people don't want to say that rankings matter, and I'm kind of one of those people, but on the other hand, they actually do. So the problem is that a lot of firms, some firms won't even look at certain schools. Like that's really what I've been told by legal professionals that do interviews and recruiting. they won't even look at certain schools. And if they look at schools that are lower ranked, they will only take people from top 5 to top 10, whatever percent, right? Now, if you're one of those people who can network their way into a position, or you got a good mouthpiece, you can do something like that, then by all means, go ahead. But I definitely do think that rankings matter. But also, some schools have really strong alumni networks too. So I have friends who go to lower ranked schools than the school that I go to, but their alumni networks are super, super strong. So it's really not even like networking. It's just a matter of, oh, you went here, I went there, okay, you got it. So rankings matter, they definitely do. But if you choose, or if you're thinking about going to a law school that's ranked lower, try to figure out if they have a really strong alumni base, because every school doesn't, trust me. Another thing that you should look into is the programs and how their programs are ranked. So even if you don't go to a super high ranked like law school, just in general, if they have like a highly ranked clinical program, or their moot court team is ranked really high, or even their like flagship journal is up there, you should consider going to that school. Now, you're not necessarily going to make it onto all these things, but if they have a decent amount of things that are ranked pretty highly, you have a good chance of, being up there with the big shots. And you can put on your resume like, oh, I worked in the number 3 clinic in the country, So who cares if you didn't go to Harvard? You worked at the number 3 clinic in the country, so you in there like swimwear. First, this might be my little hot take, but I don't think it's really that important to look at the course catalogs for these law schools, because first of all, in your first year, there's classes that everybody's gonna take: contracts, torts, civ pro, whatever, right? And then 2L and 3L, that's when you start picking your classes. Now, unless you really wanna do some kind of like niche area of the law, like space law, because people have to do space law or stuff like that, then that's probably something you should look into. But I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I would say look into the courses that the school offers if you want to do some kind of like niche area of the law. But if you're just generally interested in like criminal law, or you want to do corporate law, like pretty much every law school is going to offer courses like that. So insiders, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helps you decide which law school to go to, or at least figure out what you should be looking for, what you might want to look for, what's important to you. And again, take this all with a grain of salt, because some people don't care about rankings. They're like, whatever, I'm just trying to get the JD and move on with my life, and some people do. So of course, it depends on your life. But I hope this advice helped you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe, comment down below, all of that. Bye, insiders.